I won't pretend to have seen a big amount of Godzilla movies. In fact, I think I've never watched one from start to finish. It's usually the kind of simple, cliche driven plot which you can figure out very quickly in its entirety. And after 5 or 10 minutes, you will already know how it all will end. But that must not be necessarily a bad thing, because these are usually 5 or 10 very entertaining minutes. I have to give them that. And then you can queue forward for the big showdown or watch it all along and enjoy the wacky special effects. I guess there are almost or about 30 Godzilla movies out there, from early black and white stop trick animation trash glory to more recent CGI spectacles. So, despite all the inherent simplicity of the myth, there's quite a backstory to this legend, developed in all those movies. For an example, there is not just Godzilla, but a dozen of different monsters which are, like Godzilla, not always evil, but more often ambivalent and sometimes in a way defenders of mankind. Almost like the movies, the comic franchise has a history of its own, aside of course from the Japanese comics which were published since the 50s, if I can trust Wikipedia. There is this 24-issue Marvel run from 1977 through 1979, in which I'm flipping pages right now. It's written by Doug Mönch and drawn by Herb Trimpe. A really good and cheap occasion to purchase the whole run in only one big book is the Marvel Essential Collection. This series, Godzilla King of the Monsters, puts Godzilla completely into the Marvel universe. It's basically the big green clobbering, blasting and trampling its way from Alaska across the USA to New York City. Godzilla encounters Dum-Dum, Dugan, Nick Fury and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and a bunch of other heroes of the Marvel Universe. For an instance, there is this Los Angeles-based group of the Champions around Hercules, which I've never have heard of. I mean, the group of the Champions. Hercules is, I guess, well known, but his Marvel incarnation, I can't remember even that. Anyway, I googled it and found out that Ghost Rider was once a part of this group. Okay. But Godzilla encounters more popular heroes as well, like the Fantastic Four or the Avengers. But all that would not be reason enough for me to invest hours of reading into this tome, if there wouldn't be the incredible detailed art by Herb Trimpe. The quality is not always consistent. In fact, it seems to depend highly on the inker as well, which is not so surprising because inkers are always important. But peculiarly, some of the not so good artwork here is the result of Trimpe inking himself. But hey, if you flip through this book, there are so many terrific panels that my occasional need of big lizards destroying giant buildings and general stuff in an awesome manner is more than satisfied. Just the way how the big green works his way through American cityscapes, starting with Seattle and San Francisco, adds up to a fun series of its own within the series. I like these black and white reprints from Marvel and DC, especially horror and monster stuff like Godzilla doesn't need colors essentially. And in this fashion you can enjoy and appreciate the drawings much better. Even the cheap, pulpy, almost newsprint paper fits, in my opinion. Actually, I prefer this paper to glossy, reflecting art print paper when it comes to black and white reproductions. Just the cover of the collection is meh. I think they could have put a bit more effort into that. And into the table of contents. And another tiny detail that bugs me a tiny bit. Why isn't there a continuous page numbering? It would be much easier to flip to a certain chapter. But anyhow, all in all, I certainly can recommend this collection for every fan of good old comics for sure. A considerable bigger amount of thinking went into this book here. In regard of making a book as an object, starting from this design of the oversized hardcover with this leather evoking imprint with the cover picture apparently mounted with tape on it. It's a very fine book throughout. And it's one of the most recent Godzilla comics that's been published. James Stokoe's Godzilla, The Half-Century War. The Half-Century War. In Stokoe's very own way, he stays true to the Godzilla legends. He revives and incorporates different monsters that appeared in the old movies, like Mothra and so on. It's the same innocent, in the best sense childish and senseless fun you expect from a comic like this. No higher concept or anything, we just follow one Ota Murakami in his almost lifelong fight against Godzilla, each issue raising the stakes until the grand finale. After fighting myself through Grant Morrison's The Invisibles, the last couple of weeks I found this story really relieving in its straightforward simplicity. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to compare these two comics by any means. That would be ridiculous, but sometimes I get a bit tired of high concepts and all, and want to enjoy a light, silly, poppy story, and Stokoe delivers the fun in this colorful package. And his incredibly detailed, structure-loving, manga-esque, but not so manga because of all the details, drawing style. And talking about the colors, Stokoe colored the comic himself, along with the assist of one Heather Breckell. In contrast to the old Trimpe comics, the color here is an inherent, important, not separable part of the artwork. Even though I can theoretically imagine a black and white reprint of Stokoe's run, it would be inevitably inferior to the colored comic. The color selection with dominant red and violet tones throughout the book gives it a certain unity, and the neat color gradients let the shapes back and foregrounds shimmer and shine, especially in combination with the glossy paper, which is here totally the right paper choice. It almost seems like everything is printed on metal. In the quite extensive bonus section, Stokoe reveals himself as a true Godzilla fan, as if he couldn't have guessed by his comic. But it's nevertheless amazing to read about some of his decisions. For an example, which monsters should fight against each other and when. And for another example, I want to quote Stokoe's explanation for this amazing and bizarre sound word here on this double page spread. So, here in his own words. When I started the series, one thing I wanted to avoid was a standard sound effect for Godzilla's roar. I do have affection for the classic screonk that seems to be the standard in his comic book adaptations, but I wanted to use something a bit more visceral. I ended up tracing the effect of an oscilloscope image of his actual movie counterpart Roar. Vague lettering was added inside it to try and give a more vocal feeling. So, here we go. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.